thank you for this opportunity for I to be able to share with you some high-level thoughts on designing a cybersecurity strategy plan that takes account this current change of cybersecurity and this dynamic environment. My name is Joseph Mathengi. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Siriano. Over the next few minutes, I'll quickly take you through a number of slides that talks about key components of building a cybersecurity strategy and how you can pragmatically put that in place. Here's the overview of what we'll be sharing, a high-level agenda of what we're talking about. I'll start by introducing the organization that I work for, Siriano Limited. I'll take another 2 or 3 slides to talk through the overall cybersecurity threat landscape in Kenya and in the region across Africa. I'll dive into the core of the discussion today as far as the overall cybersecurity strategy components that I would recommend that you consider for your organization, and then close out with final thoughts about it. Siriano is a cybersecurity services organization. We are based out of Nairobi with operations within the region in Uganda, Ethiopia, as far south as Rwanda, as far south as Botswana, as well as west. And we focus almost exclusively on cybersecurity. We are, however, better known for a research document that we have done every year. This report is available from our website, completely free for your download, and it focuses on different topics around cybersecurity that are available absolutely free for your own consumption. You cannot do cybersecurity without key partnerships. Some of our key partnerships are as listed on the left-hand side of this slide. Palladium Networks, who are an organization based out of India, recently acquired by Atos. PECB are an organization focused on ISO certification. We are the founding members of the Global 100 Project, Kenyan chapter, and then work very closely with USIU on our research and data analysis. And we run our own training hub, the Africa Cyber Immersion Center. Some of the content that I'll be sharing today has been developed out of this particular arm of our organization. I again invite you to go to our website. Listing of all our different trainings are listed out there for you to be able to have a look. Let's get into it and talk about some of the threats that the organizations are experiencing within the region. 3 key areas that I want to emphasize on. Number 1, capabilities. Your current breed of attackers, for lack of a better word, seem to exhibit a much higher technical understanding of the target infrastructure. Loosely translated, the way that they're targeting an organization is one of understanding. It's not a try as X. It's not a different, just pure attempt. By the time they focus their attentions to an attempt to exploit, they will spend quite a bit of time, or will have spent quite a bit of time, in understanding the overall technical controls. This builds them and brings me to our second step, which is on preparedness. The attackers seem to be readily prepared for any internal defenses that you may have put in place, any technical controls that are put in place to try and slow their attack, and they seem to navigate that very well with advanced techniques and tactics. Finally, is on the point of familiarity. They show a much higher familiarity and speed of which they use to attack the organization, and which they use to exfiltrate quite a bit. And the losses have been significant. Here are just some numbers that we have seen over the past year and a half, going back to May of 2021. A mid-sized bank had their mobile banking fraud environment targeted with a loss there of about 15 million shillings. Large-sized bank had age-old ATM compromise, physical attack, in August of 2021 with a loss of about 4 million shillings. A small-sized bank had the mobile and Pesalink targeted with a loss of about 5 million in September of 2021. Fintechs, which are next big exciting thing within the region, who integrate and service a large number of financial institutions, have been particular targets of this type of attackers. And as you can see there from the numbers, the losses have been significant. 65 million, 30 million, 25 million, 25 million, spreading from October of 2021 all the way to February of 2022. And the target is no longer just the financial gain. There's also actual data records. And as you may very well know, law of the land now requires data privacy of citizens to be protected. So what are some of the key components that you need to be thinking about as you're designing your overall cybersecurity strategy? If you forget everything else that I talk about today, this particular slide perhaps is the most important. Standing on two major columns, governance and strategy. Number one, it's so very important that you understand the overall enterprise business risk management strategy. How is the organization that you're designing the cybersecurity strategy for, the one that you work for, managing overall enterprise risk? Because you need to embed the cybersecurity strategy to that overall enterprise business risk framework. You also need to develop, one needs to also develop a cybersecurity strategy roadmap that spreads 3 years, 5 years, broken down by quarter, by half year, biannually, that you're able to see different things that are in place to put in place. Split between technical controls, you need to upgrade your firewall, you need to buy a new antivirus solution, you need to put in stronger web application firewall, and so on and so forth. That needs to be spread out over time because these tools are expensive. You also need to match it up with the technical capabilities of the team. So training on incident management, change management, and so on and so forth. I already talked about the enterprise risk management framework. The enterprise risk strategy and cybersecurity need to go hand in hand, very closely aligned. That will give you a much better chance of it being successful. Right resources targeted at the cybersecurity initiatives. So your strategy map is defining your initiatives, and then right resources targeted against those cybersecurity initiatives, being able to make the business case. We do a very weak job in being able to explain why we are spending tens of millions of shillings in buying different tools and not closely aligning them as we are making our requests for those resources. No organization now is working independently. You need to have a place to manage a third party. They present a significant risk to the organization. Get to understand how they manage risk and cybersecurity risk from their environment. Then need to measure on a consistent basis. Develop high-level cybersecurity metrics and reporting that combine both technical metrics as well as non-technical metrics, but all work together, all that makes sense clearly for everyone that needs to be able to do so. You may need to change to optimize the overall ICT organizational charter, maybe move the security team out of the ICT team for a little bit of independence for them to be able to work more effectively. A continuous awareness across the organization, however, one that's targeted very narrowly again onto the board as well as senior management, because they at the end of the day are the ones who are driving the decisions. And then it's so important to recognize that it will potentially occur. A cybersecurity event will potentially occur. Therefore, it's important that you consider acquiring a cyber insurance cover for the business. Let's step through it. Here's some of the things that you need to think through from a cybersecurity analytic perspective. Number one, what are your breach scenarios? What can go wrong with the overall current business processes? Which systems are most likely to be used to leverage the attack? Who is likely to attack from an individual perspective? Is it an internal attacker or an external attacker? Are there things that the organization can do so as to slow down the attack or stop it completely? Because that becomes absolutely key in implementing that overall cybersecurity strategy. Humans are such a key component of the overall organization. So we need to put human resources at the heart of your overall cybersecurity strategy. Looking at the employees, this is in addressing the internal risk and trying to identify employees who may present a particular risk. Quite a number of attacks are carried out by the help of internal employees. Note how we say that. It's not necessarily that the internal ones are the one executing it, but for it to be successful, there is a collision between an external malicious actor and an internal employee who perhaps is feeling themselves to be disgruntled, feeling to be underpaid, or one who wants to really grow very, very fast. HR and HR processes needs to be able to capture that and manage it very, very carefully. Cyber attacks do not always come in through the front door. I cannot overemphasize this point. Some may come through weaknesses in other areas of your supply chain. What I mentioned earlier on as far as third-party services providers. So your third-party vendors, either one-time vendors or continuous vendors, the consultants that you bring in to serve a particular service providers who are continuous in place, you need to recognize that those ones present a unique risk and what you need to do with them so as to be able to manage that risk. You need the service they're providing, the product, the solution. However, what risk are they presenting to the organization? Having gained an understanding of these components, now we need to identify the weakest link and begin to address this weakest link. Conduct risk assessments against each supplier, for example, before contracting will allow you to identify any areas of concern. Understand who they are, that they're not on any type of a watch list. Ask questions about their approach on data security and which protective systems they are using. Also get references. Understand who you're trading with and who else has worked with them and what was that experience. Not only from a cybersecurity perspective, but also from satisfaction. Will they actually deliver on the things that you've asked them to do? Built within your contract, you need to have an SLA as well as breach notification requirements. A contract clause that would require a supplier to inform your organization that they are victims or subject of a cyber breach that may very well impact any service agreement that you have with them, anything that may impact your organization. Audit the environment. Get to understand what's going on to it. Audit, i.e. deploying teams if you have the resources to do it, or ask for the audit reports so as to be able to understand what were the areas that were pinpointed in their environment that may trickle down to impact your organization. I've talked about HR. I went into your procurement. Let me touch very quickly on your legal team. Traditionally, legal teams handle issues ranging from employee issues, lawsuits from customers, and so on and so forth. They are now getting more and more involved in cyber crimes. There is law of the land that talks about data privacy, that talks about computer security. Legal teams now have to have an understanding of that regulatory compliance, of those data privacy laws, and of any digital assets that you may own. So bring them into the discussion as far as cybersecurity is concerned and the implementation of that strategy. And then now we go into the question of cyber insurance. We already mentioned that it's important to acquire it. Ask the question of whether or not this is adequate. Does it cover what you need? How will they defray the costs to the organization in the event of, for example, a data breach litigation? Your legal team are preparing this type of activities. The legal teams are the ones who are understanding, so they play a key component in being able to manage those particular items. Finally, it's so important that you understand any and all of your organizations impact the organization. So what's the culture of the organization? How do you address risk? How do you manage it all the way through? Or are you potentially in one of those scenarios where you're sitting on top of the boat that has a lake on the other side and assuming that you're existing in a comfortable and clear way? I thank you for your time. I hope I was able to share my points quickly and clearly of what we needed to do.